Welcome. Esteemed faculty, families, friends, and of course, our distinguished physician assistant graduates. Good morning and welcome. Please be seated. It is truly a privilege and an honor to stand before you today on this special occasion as we come together to celebrate the achievements of our outstanding physician assistant graduates. Perfect. This is a day of immense pride and joy for the graduates, their families, and our institution. Today, we mark a significant milestone in the lives of these talented individuals who have dedicated themselves to the pursuit of knowledge, the art of healing, and the noble path of healthcare. These graduates have not only demonstrated unwavering commitment, but also remarkable capacity to adapt, collaborate, and provide compassionate care, qualities that define the essence of a physician assistant. As we gather here, we reflect on the challenges and the triumphs that have shaped the journey of these graduates, leading them to this pivotal moment. We acknowledge the sacrifices made, the late-night study sessions, the countless clinical hours, and the dedication required to become a healthcare professional. We also recognize the support, encouragement, and love that families and friends have provided along the way. Your unwavering support has been essential to the success of these graduates, and today we extend our heartfelt gratitude to each of you. In healthcare, the role of a PA is multifaceted, demanding adaptability, competence, and a deep sense of compassion. These graduates are well prepared to meet these challenges and are poised to embark on a journey of service, impact, and lifelong learning. As we celebrate their accomplishments today, we also look forward to the future of healthcare and the transformative role that our graduates will play. The world of medicine is ever evolving, and these graduates, armed with their unique skills and qualities, are ready to contribute to the changing landscape of healthcare, ensuring that patients receive the highest quality of care. This commencement ceremony signifies not just an end, but a new beginning, one filled with hope, promise, and the prospect of making a significant difference in the lives of those they serve. As they begin this new chapter, I am confident that the graduates will excel in their roles, bringing innovation, kindness, and a commitment to excellence to every patient they encounter. Congratulations to the physician assistant graduates of Rocky Vista University. Your journey has been nothing short of extraordinary, and your future holds the potential for greatness. Today, we celebrate your accomplishments and look forward to the positive impact you will have in healthcare. But now, let's get on with the ceremony. Here's what you can expect next. You'll hear greetings from RVU's president and CEO, followed by our student speaker, our keynote speaker, who is selected by the graduates, and the presentation of awards. The graduates will then each receive their hood, symbolizing their achievement in completing graduate-level training, followed by conferral of the MPAS degree. Lastly, the graduates will recite the physician assistant oath, committing to the patients they will serve. The ceremony will conclude with brief closing remarks. And now, please welcome RVU's President and CEO, Dr. David Forstein.
Thank you, Professor Ruff. Good morning, students, faculty and staff, guests, and the students' family and loved ones. I want to thank you for allowing me to spend a few moments with you today. While I currently serve as the president of Rocky Vista University, I previously spent nearly 30 years practicing as an OBGYN and reproductive endocrinologist, working the whole time alongside physician assistants. Being a university president has its ups and downs, but today is a great day to be Rocky Vista University's president. Seeing these 34 graduates ready to graduate is exhilarating. My first experience working alongside a PA was in 1988. At that time, I was a medical student on a GYN surgery rotation. I was involved in a difficult case. It was a laparoscopic hysterectomy, which was pretty new at the time. And the PA in the room operated circles around the experienced gynecologist. It was then and there that I promised myself to learn more about PAs and to work alongside them whenever I could. Throughout my clinical career, I worked with many physician assistants in my clinic and infertility practice and in the operating room. I had the opportunity to run an 80-physician OBGYN department, and initially I encountered some resistance from the doctors about bringing PAs into the department to work alongside them. Once we got one in the door, every pod of doctors wanted their own PA to come work with them because they added so much to the quality of the work, and the attention they brought to the patient care just made everything better. Now I can tell you that that department, I just checked in with them. They are 80 physicians, 25 midwives, and 30 PAs. So I'm really excited about that. You're joining the provider workforce at a very critical time. Not only are we facing a shortage of providers, but we're also facing an aging population of physicians who are desperate to retire and are just waiting for reinforcements. That's you. I want to thank you for spending the past 27 months with us at RVU. You have succeeded at the highest levels. To your families, I want to thank you for supporting these students throughout their education. I know they have made you proud today. Students, we know your work is not done here. I hear there's a little exam you guys need to take in a couple of weeks. Some employment contracts perhaps to review, and soon there will be patients to see. But that is all for tomorrow. Today is about celebrating you. Congratulations on your achievements. I would now like to welcome Dylan Berman to the podium to introduce today's student keynote speaker.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Friends, family, and strangers alike. Most of you should be at work right now. Some of you may even be in a Zoom meeting. So thank you, truly, for being here instead. It is my honor to introduce our student keynote speaker today, Ellery Roberts. However, before doing so, I'm going to shed light on the 27th-month journey of an RVU PA student. I apologize, as some references may only be understood by the class, though I hope the overall experience is understood universally. Now, let's think back to that end of August heat. The year is 2022. Some of us still dumbfounded we made it past the interview. Others are adjusting to Colorado altitude or simply being back in school, prepping for a 3-day orientation, trying to make their icebreaker cool. While there, we got assigned a cardinal direction and sang some silly songs, but didn't get a tour till the last day. What could possibly go wrong? There were 1,000 resources we were given, 50 numbers to add into our phones, and we're told week 2 is your first exam date, but week 6 you'll get your loans. Suddenly, it's September, we're growing poorer by the day, questioning if it's too late to go pursue an MBA. We spent more time with cadavers than with our loved ones, and our eyes are turning red from a lack of sleep insanity mixed with the formaldehyde getting to our heads. We've covered over 100 topics and countless slides, all shoved into 8 hours, recalling when a professor said he would do flashcards instead of sing while taking showers. But when we encountered trying times, we kept going. Some of us barely even cried in, stayed strong when our toughest class was being ran by some guy on an island. Somehow, we made it to October, and for Halloween, I was the only student that dressed up. As a zombie, nonetheless, because just feeling dead inside was simply not enough. But there was a festive party that was held, and almost every classmate showed their face for the first and last time outside of school. We were all together in one place. November brought some colder weather, but held a reminder to give thanks for Adderall, tutors, study spots, and loans from federal banks. And while we were busy percussing lungs and testing reflexes at our knees, RVU changed its colors to those of Kraft mac and cheese. I digress. December brought forth a break that lasted all of 30 seconds. I barely got through any series that Netflix recommended. It's January, and lectures are still overwhelming. The cadavers are still smelly, but I'd like to thank our Lord and Savior, the anatomy fellow Kelly. Yes! February was a blur, but that could be from the flurries of white snow as we're stuck inside studying instead of hitting up the slopes. March was the time of the Kappa conference, held at a hotel with a bar right in the lobby, as we sat through presentations wondering, when's the last time that we saw Robbie? There was also a fancy gala at Empower Field where the Broncos play and lose, just kidding, where I learned you don't really know your classmates until you've seen them bust a move. In April, we worked with well-paid Gouda Muda teachers that flew in to help us learn about the reproductive system, and each of us took a turn. Now, not only is this job lucrative and also somehow legal, but if you had any idea where we put our fingers in these people. Anyway, we also learned how to spell petechiae for our first point of entrustment test. We were dead wrong at our worst and ignorant at our best. We did a complete head-to-toe exam with the professor grading us right there on our ability to memorize a script and also provide good patient care. In May, we got an intro to the clinical world and took a long pack-rat exam and scrubbed into mock surgeries, unsure of where to put our hands. Paper plate awards were given out. We had a white coat ceremony and celebration, wanting to feel like we accomplished something but resisting the temptation. Because then we entered the next stage in school, of which we were all in pursuit. We sold our souls to medicine, but hey, this white coat's kind of cute. Yes, we embarked on clinical rotations, and some were not always a breeze. Maintaining our mental health proved harder than keeping that coat stain free. But our preceptors gave us confidence, or confidence adjacent, when we took a 20-minute history but forgot to touch the patient. We looked in tons of ears and throats, pricked many diabetic toes, and realized nobody in clinic listens to heart sounds under clothes. Just kidding. Some of us traveled far and wide. Lots of us got sick with influenza, strep, corona, and I'm surprised there wasn't a brawl over the rooms at that A-frame in Arizona. Overall, we each gain invaluable experiences in different ways that are difficult to compare, but agree, if you're looking for the right place to sit in the OR, it definitely isn't there. And I believe we all stayed diligent, remaining focused and persistent, just to explain to people, no, I'm not in school to be a personal assistant. Still, we stuck our noses to the grindstone and our fingers in weird places. I'm grateful to have endured this with each of your exhausted faces. And dare I say we've made it. Perhaps I venture to say that we are ready, while knowing the internet is just a click away if things get a little heavy. As these 27 months come to a close, it's time to see what the real world has in store. But we can do it because we got through it. Here's to the class of 24. Okay, wow. Thank you. My mouth is so dry. No, back to our scheduled programming. Ellery Roberts is our student keynote speaker today. She's a Colorado native that has worked as a medical assistant for 10 years and even taught medical assistant training classes before gracing RVU with her presence. She was selected by our class as RVU's PA Student of the Year in 2023 and again selected to be the student representing our class today. Of all the arduous decisions throughout PA school, those are my easiest ones to make. There are innumerable reasons why, but to give you some perspective, a quick snippet. Most of us had to travel for clinical rotations, with a common rotation location being Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs is a city about an hour south of here, so if we were assigned a rotation there, we were provided housing and lived there throughout the 4-week clinical. Well, Ellery grew up and resides in Colorado Springs, so during the last week of whichever rotation anyone had down there, she invited us all to her house for dinner. We got to connect together, enjoy a home-cooked meal, play with her fun, chubby dogs, and decompress in a safe space. She did this every single month there was interest through our clinical phase. It was the highlight of my clinical Springs rotation, and I know I'm not alone in that sentiment. And I mention this over her scholarly accolades, of which there are many, because I believe being a good PA transcends the academic realm. It should be more focused on how you serve others and make them feel. And Ellery will go out of her way to ensure people are accepted, included, and listened to. Her generosity and hospitality are unmatched. She helps without hesitation, and her monthly dinners are just a small testament to who she is as a person. She is selfless, humorous, incredibly intelligent, and probably hates all of these compliments. But she sincerely embodies everything one would want in a friend, colleague, and physician assistant. It has been nothing short of a privilege to be her classmate and ask her incessant questions, knowing she'll always conjure up some sort of answer. To know her is to know undying curiosity, deep dependability, a rare genuineness, and to acquire some trivial knowledge. She likes fun facts, good books, and long walks on the hospital floor. People of the Cable Center, are you ready? Without further ado, please welcome to the stage the exceptional Ellery Roberts.
That's like impossible to follow, man. I'm gonna do my best, though. All right. So, good morning, everyone, faculty, family, friends, and of course, the soon-to-be physician assistants. My name's Ellery Roberts. I'm your keynote speaker for the class of 2024, and I'm so honored to be here before you all today. I learned in our evidence-based practice course that I need to cite my sources, and I'd like to do a quick set of thank yous to mention everyone who made today possible. So thank you to the manufacturers of Celsius energy drinks and Wyeth Pharmaceuticals that produce propranolol for making my heart speed up while I'm taking my test, or while I'm studying for my test, and then slowing it back down when I actually needed to take it. Thank you to Scott Shapiro of Cram the Pants, Zachary Murphy of Ninja Nerd, and Dwayne A. Williams of Pants Prep Pearls for explaining the things we didn't understand in class. You have no idea how many test questions we got right because of you, and if we could give you a portion of our tuition, we would. Thank you to the therapy dogs who were religiously at the school on the two most important days, the day we took our test and the day we got our scores. We collected your business cards like Pokemon for depressed students, and we caught them all. I want to thank our professors and mentors who, despite knowing what we were really doing during Zoom class, decided to let us graduate anyway. Thank you for putting pictures of your dogs in your PowerPoints and sometimes even creating a PowerPoint of your vacation, because we were living vicariously through you. Your kindness will not be forgotten, and each one of you has shaped us and helped us become who we are and the providers we will be. I want to say thank you to my classmates for being a source of inspiration, unofficial therapists, and prolific producers of memes. I can't thank you enough for tolerating my endless fun facts, my adoration of the renal system, and for having the momentary lapse in judgment that led to letting me speak to everyone today. I have a fun fact for you. More people fear public speaking than they do death. And there's no need to cite a source on that one. I can tell you it's true firsthand. So, we can't forget the real MVPs of support, our family and our friends. We can't thank you enough. You watched us slowly dissolve into madness, sat through 100 practice head-to-toe exams, and listened to us say crazy things like "to Zanzibar" by Motorcar and "in by 9, out by 10. You watched in fascination as we slowly developed irrational fears about medical conditions and started diagnosing ourselves with increasingly rare diseases. Still, you had the audacity to believe that we could do it. Someone had to believe it, and we're forever grateful that you did, because it wasn't always easy for us to see it that we were going to make it to this point. So a million times over, thank you for cheering us on. It took me a really long time to figure out what I wanted to say today. I watched keynote speakers from various college graduations, and I tried to decipher what the magic formula was. I tried to decide if I wanted to be funny or cheesy or have a really hard-hitting message, and then I did what I always do when I'm stuck. I asked ChatGPT. My first few searches, I asked it to give me a speech based on the school and the program information, but none of them quite felt right. I did appreciate that ChatGPT was gracious enough to populate pauses for laughter, but that did feel optimistic. Next, I asked for an outline of speech, just a format to follow, and it said to start with an introduction, to thank faculty and friends, to reminisce on how far we've come, tell an inside joke, talk about ups and downs, and then say something motivating like, "This is just the beginning and we made it." My next search was for cliches to avoid in keynote speeches, and it gave me the exact same list. So I was dead in the water. My classmates and some faculty know that I've had a countdown to this moment on my phone that started at 500 plus days remaining. So after I got stuck, I checked my ever-present countdown and I saw that I had 3 days, 1 hour, and 13 minutes until this speech. I had really been procrastinating and time was flying. But then inspiration struck, kind of the way it always does, when you least expect it, when you need it most, and when you're standing in the shower. Time is what I want to talk about. 5 years ago, almost to the day, I decided that I was going to go back to school and be a PA. I remember telling my husband, I have to do it now before I'm too old. Even if I do it right, I'll be over 31 by the time I finish. This is a low blow for my past self and kind of unnecessary. But at the time, one of my favorite sayings was, and still to this day is, the time is going to pass anyway, you might as well do something with it. And that's how I decided. 3 years ago today, I didn't know any of you. We hadn't spent time together or had an idea of who we were going to meet and befriend. We started orientation on August 23rd, 2022 at 8 a.m., and that was 2 years, 2 months, 23 days, 2 hours, and 30 minutes ago. Those first 3 days of trying to remember names, find classes, and organize the resources should have been an indicator of just how fast this was all going to go. Do you know where we were exactly 2 years ago today? I didn't either, but then I looked at our rarely updated PA calendar, and on November 15th, 2022, from 10 to 12, we were in our Molecular and Cellular Concepts course in the seminar room. And that was the day we learned my favorite thing in the world, the RAS system of the kidney. I may be older and wiser than I was then, but I still don't understand how countercurrent exchange works completely. But I do have some things I do know, and I have some retrospective data for you and a little perspective on our time. We spent a minimum of 2,666 hours on the requirements for this program. This doesn't include office hours, studying during lunch or after class, or any optional review or tutoring sessions. In that time, we could have watched the entire extended edition of Lord of the Rings almost 234 times. You could drive across the US from Oregon to Massachusetts 44 times, or you could cook 80,000 instant noodle cups back to back. We answered nearly 4,000 questions throughout the program, not including retakes or the questions we got thrown out off of tests. That would be like taking our board exam 13 times over. We downloaded and sat through 13,171 slides just in didactic, and it only took me 75 minutes to count all those slides. We started as a class of 36, and we're graduating as a class of 34. And since we met almost 2.5 years ago, we've changed and we've grown. I've seen life pass within this class. Lifelong friendships were made, relationships started and ended, some got married, and some grew their families as early as this morning at 5 a.m. Congratulations, Sam. Some of us just secured the ever-elusive friend in dermatology that we can send rash pictures to. We learned and we laughed and we loved and we lost. And time did not stop for PA school. And now we're done, just as fast as we started. One day, you're gonna look at your group chat names and not remember the joke because of all the time that's gone by. And we're gonna measure our days not by how many hours we were at work, but by how many charts we have left open. And we will develop that kind of amnesia that you have to get to convince somebody else that they should go to PA school. And one day, we're only gonna have a vague memory of all the time that we spent in school because it's gonna pale in comparison to all that we've done since. It's been 2 years, 2 months, 23 days, 2 hours, and 33 minutes since we started, and we have less than an hour left. All of your hard work and dedication comes to this moment. I want to thank you for your time and for the honor of getting to know you and experiencing this with you. I can say that in the not too distant future, no one's going to remember what brand of scrubs you wore, which questions you had to remediate, or who got what job first, but they're going to remember who you are at your core. Your humility, your authenticity, and your kindness. We're not just healthcare providers, we're problem solvers, patient advocates, multitaskers, and experts in Dr. Google. Most importantly, we're a mosaic of all the best qualities of everybody here. I know that everything I have become is because of all the wonderful people in this room. We've all worked hard to get here, and we're ready to take on whatever comes next, just as soon as we catch up on some sleep. And as we look forward, I hope you remember to take the opportunities, to put in the work, and that it's never too late, because the time's gonna pass anyway, and only you get to decide what it's filled with. Congratulations, PA class of 2024. And as Professor Eckhart constantly reminded us, you aren't nervous, you're excited for what comes next, and I think we can finally see it that way.
Miss me? Okay, I'm actually crying in the club. Hello, yes. I'm also here to introduce our keynote speaker today, and he's a hands-down fan favorite. Our class adores him, and selecting him as our speaker was a no-contest win. It is my pleasure to introduce PA Jim Keller. Woohoo! I distinctly remember meeting Jim for the first time in our clinical skills class because I noticed something strange. I didn't feel threatened or intimidated. He was wearing gentle pastel colors, things felt hopeful, and then I overheard him talking to a nearby student. Living my whole life in New England, when I first heard his subtle southern drawl, I went, whoa, it really does exist, and it's unironic. I immediately knew this guy was gonna be a real one, and for at least that one thing in PA school, I wasn't wrong. Jim is a highly respected and established physician assistant. He has worked in several different capacities at prestigious levels and has more professional accomplishments than Colorado has dispensaries. But, as I've mentioned, accolades come second to the impact one has on others, and the impact he has made on our class has been monumental. Jim served our class as a professor, lecturer, and clinical skill teacher, though moreover, he served as a trustworthy confidant, a wonderful storyteller, and a continued source of comedic relief. Let's be honest, he was our class resident grandfather. Witty, wise, full of genuine care and support, may even have some hard candies in his pockets, who's to know? He gave us indispensable knowledge, not from a textbook or database, but rather through true experiences, real-world anecdotes, and from his own trials and tribulations. And despite being in medicine before anyone in our class was born, he remains up to snuff on current practices and advancements. He is, as the kids say, hip. I don't think the kids actually say that, but in class, Jim was honest but tactful. He told you how it was while giving you reasons, creating learning opportunities, that's it, and suggesting ways to improve without ever making you feel lesser, and then he probably added a fun joke or cool tidbit. When I was fortunate enough to have him as a professor in our small group learning class, it was the only time in a group that my heart rate did not rise alarmingly high. But Jim always has a calming, approachable presence that makes others feel at ease too. It's part of the reason why, in a different small group, students held a birthday celebration for him, complete with party hats, favors, and desserts. Dead serious, what they did for him was the most anyone did for any student or professor's birthday combined. But they wanted Jim to feel how he makes us feel, worthy, special, and important. Plus, he's simply an easy person to honor and celebrate. I cannot imagine a more suitable role model for our class. He showed us the value of grit and perseverance, relentless compassion, and a lighthearted story every now and then, just to take the edge off. He seamlessly personifies all of these attributes and so much more, and I can only hope to one day be half of the provider he is. While I'm here to introduce him, I also want to thank him, on behalf of our entire class, for more than he is aware. How lucky have we been? Thank you, Jim. Now come up here and tear down the house. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jim Keller.
Well, well, well. You asked for it. Dylan, I want to thank you for, I don't know how to say anything about that introduction other than, wow, thank you very much. Hopefully I won't cry. Samantha, and as president, and the rest of the class of 2024, I really want to thank you for inviting me. It's humbling to be here, and it's also very much an honor. What I'd like to do is to kind of give you a little history of the PA profession, since that's the one you're going to go into, and I happen to know something about it. Since the initial utilization as a physician associate / physician assistants in the late 1960s, they've changed the healthcare system across all specialties of medicine and surgery. PAs have eased physician shortages, freed doctors to concentrate on more complicated cases, helped lower the cost of health care, and demonstrated that PAs can work in medical and administrative positions once performed only by physicians or other professionals. Globally, doctors have historically used assistants to aid them in caring for patients. Each of these types of assistants has added unique value to the medical treatment needed in military and civilian cultural conditions. Historically, they include Felshers. In the mid-1600s, these German military assistants or field surgeons provided emergency and ambulance care. In 1721, Felshers were introduced into the Russian army by Tsar Peter the Great. Officiers de santé. In 1803, after the end of the French Revolution, these health officers were deployed to care for patients in medically underserved regions of France. Barefoot doctors. In the 1930s, during the rural reconstruction movement in China, they were pioneered in rural villages and then later further developed and institutionalized by Mao Zedong in 1965 during the Cultural Revolution. Army Medical Department medical providers. In 1939, as World War II broke out in Europe, there were only approximately 1,200 medical officers in the Army Medical Department, obviously, who in no way could support the treatment of the casualties anticipated during a global war. The solution chosen was a concept of fast-tracking the training of physicians, dentists, and veterinarians through a 60-week Army Specialized Training Program, or ASTP. More than 13,000 docs, 3,000 dentists, 500 vets were trained in the ASTP. By 1945, 47,000 medical providers were in the uniformed services to care for soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen. Trained assistant. In 1940, Amos N. Johnson, a general practitioner in rural Garland, North Carolina, hired Henry Lee Buddy Treadwell as an office orderly to escort patients to examining rooms, prepare rooms for the next patient, and to clean laboratory equipment. Buddy, who had a photographic memory, was gradually taught by Dr. Johnson to conduct physical examinations, make diagnoses, and to treat patients alongside him. Buddy was recognized as Johnson's proprietary trained assistant and managed the practice while the doctor was away at medical meetings. Dr. Johnson was the president of the American Medical Association and later was also the president of the American Academy of Family Physicians. By 1960, Buddy was accompanying patients to the Duke University Medical Center for diagnostic referrals and treatments. His role became very well known in the Duke community and by Eugene A. Stead, Jr., chair of the Department of Medicine. Dr. Stead used Treadwell's role with Dr. Johnson as a prototypical definition of a PA to gain federal funding to support the first PA educational program. On October 6, 1967, 3 former United States Navy corpsmen, Victor H. Germino, Kenneth F. Farrell, and Richard J. Scheel, graduated as the first institutionally trained PAs, thus establishing a new profession and type of medical provider in the United States. With the training of these 3 former Vietnam-era military corpsmen in a curriculum less than that of a medical student, similar to the ASTP at the start of World War II, almost 3 decades earlier, the PA profession was firmly entrenched in its military roots. In 1971, the American Medical Association passed a resolution to recognize PAs and began to develop national standards for program accreditation and individual PA certification. Oh, you guys heard of that, right? The PA certification? Okay. Acknowledging that conscription, the draft, and the Vietnam-era Berry Plan, which was the draft of physicians, would be ending in 1973, leaders of the military medical departments realized they needed a solution for pending medical shortages. This deficit would particularly affect what was called then the general medical officer, which was a physician who had no residency. These doctors who cared for soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and coasties, and their families on posts and bases, in the field, and on ships at sea and other remote areas of the world. That year, the United States Air Force was the first uniformed service to offset this problem by getting the education of PAs. During the next year, the Army, Navy, and Coast Guard began training PAs in their respective services. All of these early PAs had been enlisted medics. or hospital corpsmen who had received extensive training and experience before competing for a seat in their service's educational programs. Many had seen combat in Vietnam, where they provided life-saving core skills that did not easily translate to the civilian sector in the 1970s. Each of the uniformed services PA programs shared the same curriculum standards of the for medical education and training as their counterpart civilian PA educational programs. In 1996, all Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard PAs, along with personnel from other federal agencies, began training in the 29-month-long inter-service PA program at the Army Medical Center of Excellence at Fort Sam Houston Joint Base San Antonio, Texas. Today, IPAP is the largest PA program in the world. Okay, in that chronicled historical context, let's look at the prototypical PA of that era. He was one who always wanted to be a doctor. While growing up in a small town of western North Carolina, he wanted to earn the GI Bill for a future college medical education, so he enlisted in the United States Army in April of 1967 to be trained as a medic. Knowing that he would probably go to Vietnam at some point in his young Army career, and if he survived that tour of combat, the experience he would gain in country would bode him well in whatever medical career that he might undertake in the future. He underwent basic combat training at Fort Bragg, now called Fort Liberty, in North Carolina, basic combat medic training in San Antonio, and additional training as a clinical specialist, which was the civilian equivalent of a licensed practical nurse at Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center in Aurora. Upon graduation as what was called the Military Occupational Specialty 91C or 91 Charlie, his wish was granted, and that 21-year-old man served as a combat medic for the 2nd and the 3rd Battalions of the 47th Infantry Regiment in the 9th Infantry Division in the Mekong Delta of South Vietnam from March 1969 to March 70. God, you see a lot. He did a lot. He did things he would never wish anyone in the world would ever have to do. Over time, he found he liked the Army with its regimentation and discipline, which he strongly needed at that time of his life. While in Nam, he re-enlisted for 6 years and asked to return to Fitzsimmons. There, after a short stint as assistant ward master on orthopedic ward, he became an instructor in the 91 Charlie program from which he had earlier graduated. He found he liked teaching and to pass along to eager students lessons learned from experiences that he had gained in Nam. Also, while stationed at Fitzsimmons, he learned of a new educational program starting after the military services, and he thought to himself, I can do that. And he applied to be trained as a PA. He was selected for training as an Army PA in class number 6 of the original 8 classes taught. Each of those classes was a cohort of 60 students with 2 women in each class and started every 6 months at Fort Sam Houston. Class number 6 started training in July of 1974. The young man completed his clinical year of his PA education at Moncrief Army Community Hospital at Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina. After graduating on July 9, 1976, he was the first graduate PA to be assigned to Fort Jackson. And he was given the job to treat all the women going through basic combat training at Fort Jackson. Daily sick calls could surpass 450 patients who were triaged by corpsmen using medical algorithms to screen and treat minor injuries and illnesses, or to refer the sicker, more complicated patients to be seen by the newly minted PA. With an average of examining and treating 70 to 100 patients a day, he learned to practice medicine very quickly and to be very thorough. He learned to intently listen what a soldier told him about their illness or injuries. He learned to be very observant while performing a physical examination. He learned to quickly derive at a primary diagnosis and treatment plan. And he also learned to know when to refer a patient to a specialist in the hospital or emergency room. The new PA also learned never to doubt those little hairs that would tingle and stand up on the back of his neck whenever he might be unsure of a diagnosis or treatment plan, or when things seemed or sounded just a little bit wonky. He learned not to make a swag, but to use evidence-based medicine to diagnose and treat his patients. He learned to never be surprised by medicine, because no matter how well you're trained, you don't know everything. Collaborate. In those early days, the U.S. Army Military PA program was affiliated with Baylor University, and upon graduation, he earned an associate's degree. Later, he earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in Healthcare Management from Park University through the Fort Jackson Education Center Night School. And in 1989, he graduated from George Washington University with a master's degree in public health, utilizing the GI Bill. From July 1979 to July 1982, he was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 7th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division in Aschaffenburg, Germany, as a battalion medical officer / platoon leader. With the help of a platoon of 30 medics, he cared for the 800 soldiers in the battalion while they trained in the field for 200-plus days a year, or while they were back in the concern in garrison. There, he also provided health care for the other brigade soldiers and his unit's family members in the community Army health clinic. He also pulled call at the clinic whenever he was not deployed to the field. Following his assignment in Germany, all the now more experienced PA wanted to do was go to Fort Liberty to the 82nd Airborne and jump out of perfectly good aircraft, and then, upon retirement, find a clinical job somewhere in North Carolina. Well, we all know life intervenes. And instead, he was given orders to report to the Army Medical Department Personnel Support Support Agency in Washington, D.C. to be the first PA to assign other Army PAs to units worldwide. It was his first non-clinical assignment, and he dove into the job quickly, reading regulations and learning the nuances of human resources while ordering transfers for the good of the Army and the individual. Nah, he didn't please every one of those PAs he sent around the world. Again, life intervenes. It was not until President Jimmy Carter's administration that a PA joined the White House Medical Unit. In November 1977, when Captain, now retired, George D. McCullough of the United States Air Force had the distinction of being the first military PA to serve in the White House. The White House Medical Unit, a subunit of the White House Military Office, is tasked with caring for the President, Vice President, their families, White House staff, and all visitors, official and unofficial, entering onto the White House compound. In May of 1981, 2 months following the assassination attempt on President Ronald Wilson Reagan, then Captain David Gwynn, United States Air Force, was assigned to the White House Medical Unit as a second PA. In 1984, a request came from the Department of Defense for all the services having PAs to nominate 3 each to be considered for a replacement for Captain McCullough, who is being assigned elsewhere in the Air Force. A comprehensive screening process was completed, and our PA was one of the 3 chosen to represent the Army. On May 19, 1984, he received a call from Daniel Ruge, who was the White House physician and physician to the President, Ronald Wilson Reagan, to come over for an interview and later to undergo an extensive security background check on top of his top secret clearance. On Friday, March 23, 1984, he accepted the position as the 3rd PA and the first Army PA to be assigned to the White House. He began his job on July 23, 1984, and on September 30, 1988, he left the White House after having traveled to 35 states and 22 foreign countries, each more than once. He medically supported the summits between President Reagan and Soviet General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev in Geneva, Reykjavik, and Moscow. He flew on Air Force One, on Air Force Two, and he traveled with Vice President Bush to Mali, Niger, Sudan, Jordan, Egypt, Israel, Guatemala, and Honduras. He visited Santa Barbara, Rancho del Cilio, Los Angeles, and Palm Springs in California, and the Bush compound at Walker's Point in Kennebunkport, Maine. He even ate cucumber sandwiches at 10 Downey Street. and he met two of his heroes, Bob Hope and Fess Parker. For those of you that are not old enough to know, Fess Parker was Davy Crockett, okay. After leaving the White House, he was chosen by Lieutenant General Frank Ledford Jr., the 37th Surgeon General of the Army, to be his PA consultant, and he's ombudsman for the transitioning of U.S. Army PAs from warrant officers to fully commissioned officers. Their commissioning ceremonies occurred worldwide on February 4th, 1992. He retired from the United States Army on February 1st, 1994 with the rank of Major Promotable, after having previously earned 7 enlisted ranks and 4 warrant officer ranks during his 27-year career. In retirement, he helped to start PA educational programs at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina, and at South University in Savannah, Georgia. He was a program director at Red Rocks Community College from December of 2001 to December of 2007. He has practiced in soldier and family medicine, emergency medicine, urgent care, rural health, and occupational medicine. Due to health issues secondary to his exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam, he retired from clinical practice in May of 2018 after 42 years. Today, he continues to teach and hopefully mentor young PA students. Now, graduates, if an old fart like me can have a career like I just read to you, there's nothing you, as new graduates, can't do individually in your practices, in your careers. Nothing. Quote, if you can't overcome hard, you're never going to have any great victories in life, unquote. So saith Nick Saban, former head football coach of the University of Alabama Crimson Tide football team. Well, each of you have just overcome hard. You did so by completing this rigorous 27-month Rocky Vista PA program. You survived the fire hose of information thrown at you during your didactic basic science curriculum. And for the past 7 semesters, you've learned from clinical preceptors the nuances of the art of medicine while caring for patients. Now, as you obtain your first job as clinicians, each of the patients you see will become your victories. Let's do a mental math. 20 patients a day for 5 days equals 100 patients a week. Times 4 weeks equals 400 patients a month. Times 12 months equals 4,800 patients a year. Times 42 years equals 1,600 patients seen. Now, you can have at least that many, you can have an impact on at least that many patients in your practice for the next several years. You're entering an outstanding medical profession, one I am very proud of to be a part of, however, a little schizophrenic. I mean, excuse me. Heck. After 57 years of our existence, we can't figure out our damn name. Assistant, associate, physician extender, advanced practice practitioner. Oh, good grief. My name has been private, medic, doc, Mr., major, PA Keller, professor, Jim, dad, grandpa. In the end, it will only matter what your patients will think of you and what they want to call you. The trust, that trust will be earned by daily during the time that you see those patients, the time you have with them, the time you interview them, the time you examine them, and the time you treat them. I know that you, the Rocky Vista University PA program class of 2024, will each dedicate yourselves to patient care with an unwavering commitment to excellence. Your contributions to medicine and to your patients will embody humility, empathy, and compassion. Those principles will not only be critical in healing, but also to your lifelong learning. I'm also certain that your commitment to growth, both professionally and personally, will set the highest of standards for not only you, but for those around you. As with PA Week last month, Veterans Day this month, and every week, you're going to be recognized for your future sacrifices and contributions to our American healthcare system. Class of 2024, I proudly, gladly, and excited to call you PA colleagues. Thank you. May God bless us all.
Nice job, everyone. Thank you. And now the PA program is proud to present 4 Commencement Awards to members of the class of 2024 who exemplify the mission and values of our program and institution. I'm going to read a brief description of each award, and then I'll invite each recipient to join me at the podium to receive the honor. The PA Compassion Award recognizes a graduate who embodies graciousness and humility, advocates for social justice, and actively works to improve the well-being of all community members, both within and outside of RVU. This year's award goes to Ms. Haley Segelke? I'm not going to get it right. Segelke. I got it. Nominated by her peers for her unwavering support of fellow students and her commitment to community service, demonstrating empathy and kindness in every endeavor. Haley's preceptors consistently commended her compassion and kindness and her dedication to her patients. The PA Collaborative Award is presented to a graduate who has made outstanding contributions to their class and to the program through exceptional leadership, character, collaboration, and service. This award goes to Mr. Gabe Chavez. Recognized for his ability to unite classmates toward common goals and for his efforts in promoting teamwork among all members of the healthcare team. The PA Program's Director's Award honors a graduate who exemplifies all aspects of the program's mission, including compassion, collaboration, and competence. We are pleased to award this honor to Mr. Martin Aguilar, who has consistently demonstrated a high level of professionalism and dedication to his studies. He is recognized for his compassion, collaborative spirit, and commitment to working with medically underserved populations. And finally, the PA President's Award is bestowed upon an outstanding graduate who embodies the university's core values of collegiality, compassion, diversity, equity, excellence, inclusivity, integrity, and service. That's a lot. This year, the award goes to Ms. Ellery Roberts. This is for Ellery's extraordinary commitment to fostering an inclusive atmosphere within the program and her relentless pursuit of excellence in both academic and clinical settings. She is noted for handling challenging situations with grace and professionalism and treating everyone with respect and kindness. Congratulations to all our award recipients. Your exemplary qualities and contributions have set a very high standard for future graduates, and we're proud to recognize your achievements today. All right. Members of the faculty of the PA program have evaluated the candidates and endorsed these students as worthy of having the degree Master of Physician Assistant Studies conferred upon them. Dr. Forstein, and honored guests, on behalf of the faculty, it is with great pride that I present to you Rocky Vista University's Master of Physician Assistant Studies graduating class of 2024. Professors Eckhart and Dr. Forstein, will you please join me on stage?
Martin Aguilar. Sydney Allen. Ashley Bartolo. Dylan Berman. Jenna Booth. Sarah Brenner. Allison Birch. John Carey. Gabrielle Chavez. Madison Emnett. Wendy Gray. Megan Gritza. Mira Habib. Emma Hess. Nicolette Holcomb. Andrea Holtgren. Haley Kajimoto. Kat Keller. Courtney Kraus. Alina Noor. Sheridan Queen. Megan Reale. Robert Ringwall. Ellery Roberts. Aaron Ryan. Tarek Sakori. Haley Segelke. Alexandra Skender. Grace Smith. Mama.
Yeah, 7:57.
Samantha Smith. Ashley Spellman. Tori Thorley. Kendra Veroman. Rebecca Wainio.
Will the graduates please rise? Graduates, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you your degrees as you individually presented yourselves with all of the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. You are hereby recognized as graduates and alumni of Rocky Vista University. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Masters of Physician Assistant Studies graduates of 2024. Okay, you could turn your tassel from the right to the left. And in case you ever forget which side it goes on, now that you have these beautiful gowns to wear at some future graduation, it goes on the side of your heart to remember your time with Professor Ruff and all the faculty who love you so much. You may be seated.
We're almost there. All right. The physician assistant oath is the commitment and pledge you make to the patients, families, and communities that you will serve. I now invite Darcy Solonic, Associate Professor of PA Studies and the Director of Curriculum, to administer the oath.
Good morning. I'm a little shorter than most people, even though I wore shoes to make me taller, not enough. I know you just sat down, but graduates, will you please rise? I actually invite all the physician assistants in the audience to stand with the graduates and reaffirm or share your oath. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. This is also in your program, so if you want to read along, feel free. I pledge to perform the following duties with honesty and dedication. I will hold as my primary responsibility the health, safety, welfare, and dignity of all human beings. I will uphold the tenets of patient autonomy, beneficence, you ready for this one? Non-maleficence, and justice. I will recognize and promote the value of diversity. I will treat equally all persons who seek my care. I will hold in confidence the information shared in the course of practicing medicine. I will assess my personal capabilities and my limitations. Striving always to improve my medical practice. I will actively seek to expand my knowledge and skills. Keeping abreast of advances in medicine. I will work with other members of the healthcare team to provide compassionate and effective care of patients. I will use my knowledge and experience to contribute to an improved community. I will respect my professional relationship with the physician. I will share and expand knowledge within the profession. These duties are pledged with sincerity upon my honor. Thank you, fellow physician assistants. Please be seated.
All right, before we officially conclude these proceedings, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the graduation committee and volunteers whose diligence and hard work made this ceremony possible. Let's take just a moment to recognize them as well as the RVU faculty and staff members who contributed to your education. There are many, many other important people in the audience who have been eagerly awaiting this day as well. They have provided counsel, love, advice, and perhaps financial support for you to reach this moment. Students, now graduates, please take a moment to recognize those seated around you who may have supported you throughout your education. And now one more round of applause for our graduates. Family and friends, we kindly ask that you remain seated until the conclusion of the recessional, and the graduates will collect their belongings and then come back down here to meet you shortly after. But now, please stand and remain standing until the end of the recessional. Thank you.